So we have done introduction, definitions of communication, process of communication. We have seen features of communication, characteristics, functions and objectives, macro functions, other functions like denotation, connotation, simile, metaphor, process of communication, types of communication on the basis of relationship element, on the basis of channel, on the basis of purpose and style, on the basis of direction, interpersonal, intrapersonal, group communication, mass media, verbal communication, oral, written, non-verbal, formal, informal communication, vertical, lateral, diagonal, and types of communication networks we have seen. Chain network, star network, circle network, pole channel network,
Ma'am, I think
asynchronous.
these slides are not recorded, ma'am.
What?
From non-verbal communication, it was not recorded, I think.
What was not recording, Saravaniji?
Actually, one class was done, but they said that it was not continued because of network issues, so it was not uploaded.
Okay, you're talking about the second day. There was no class on that day, so we didn't study on that day. All the class have been uploaded till now.
Yes, ma'am. It was uploaded in YouTube. I think Shravani ma'am is asking about notes. Means these notes are not uploaded in Drive. Are you asking same, Shravani ma'am?
Sorry, it was uploaded, I think. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. And effective communication, we have seen seven C's of communication, barriers of communication. Today we have to discuss barriers of communication. Organizational barrier we have already discussed. So today we will do physical barrier, psychological barrier, and linguistic and cultural and mechanical barrier. Physical barrier. The difference in location between two people plus noise in the environment. So the physical distance or the location between two people, when two people are either far away and they cannot hear each other, then that will be physical barrier plus noise in the environment. When there is some noise going on in the background, and like if suddenly some noise starts coming and you can't hear me, then that will come in physical barrier. Then the examples of physical barrier are competing stimulus. There can be some other conversation going on in the surrounding area, traffic noise in the background, and other conversation in surrounding area. These are physical barrier. And environmental stress, subjective stress, receivers unfamiliarity with the medium, these also come in physical barrier. In environmental stress, like if there is the temperature is too high, and if there is not poor ventilation, then it will create discomfort and distraction, and thus it will hinder the exchange of information. So remember these, that competing stimulus, environmental stress, these are physical barrier. And subjective stress like sleeplessness, When you do not have enough sleep, then throughout the day you you will feel low energy levels and your mood will not be good, emotional state will not be good. Then this will also be a barrier in communication. Sleeplessness, ill health, effect of drugs, mood variations, all these are in subjective stress. These this subjective stress influence person's cognitive functioning also. If someone has taken some drugs or any medications, then their cognitive functioning will be affected, and due to these subjective stresses, emotional state and physical well-being and the attention also, when you are ill, then you won't be able to focus on something. If you are attending class and you are ill, then you will your attention will not be there on the thing, on the thing that you are doing, whether you are studying or doing some work. So if someone is and moods also affect. If someone is feeling depressed, then they will struggle to express themselves, or they won't be able to understand others what they are trying to say. So these are subjective stresses, and after this, receiver's unfamiliarity with medium. This is also physical barrier. If someone do not know, if someone wants to join MDYA academy, they want to learn, they want to prepare for NET exam, and they do not know that how to use Google Meet, how to use WhatsApp, then this is also a barrier. The use of medium with which the recipient is unfamiliar is also a communication barrier. So these are physical barrier. Clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay. Then next is psychological barrier. What can come in psychological barrier?
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes, Valkaji.
this slide is no, that is psychologically barrier. Slide is the size is so small.
What? Which slide?
This slide, the letter is so small.
Wait. I will do it later. For now, wait a second.
Okay,
Where
okay.
can I
I will
zoom?
zoom from my side. It's okay, ma'am.
Yes, while for now you please zoom it on your screen. I will do it later. Okay.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, so who will give examples of psychological barrier?
If someone is mentally disturbed or any emotionally or mentally disturbed, this can make a barrier of communication, psychological
Right.
barrier.
even shy people are shy, feeling shyness.
Sorry, what
Some
did you
people
say?
shy, madam, feeling shyness. Some people will shy to talk also. That is also psychology.
Right, their personality, yes. This is also psychological. Okay, let's see. Psychological barriers. Ignoring also comes in psychological barrier. Actually, the ignoring should have been written in this cognitive dissonance. So I'll correct it later. The barrier that is created inside the mind of an individual, which is as follows: cognitive dissonance. means ignoring. This happens when receiver message is deliberately ignored. The receiver ignores the message deliberately. Like, for example, everybody knows that smoking is harmful, but still some people ignore and they do smoke. And students know that they should come on time, they should be punctual, but still some students not do not come on time in the class. So these are cognitive dissonance. And second is stereotyping. So anybody knows about stereotyping?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so stereotype, someone is saying.
No idea.
Okay, no problem. It's like if we say that example as it is given that boys don't cry. So it's said about generally you are generalizing all the boys that all boys don't cry. And if you say that girls only do this thing, they can't do this, then you are generalizing everybody. You are not considering their individuality. And if you say that Muslims are like this, Hindus are like this, so it doesn't necessarily mean that every Hindu person who is they will be the same. So stereotyping is when someone stereotypes another person, they may ignore the actual meaning that is conveyed. Instead they focus on their preconceived notion. So they have some notion about boys that boys don't cry. So if their friend, if someone will cry, if they have if a male person, if they cry, if he cries, then they will ignore that and they'll say that boys don't cry, and they will not understand his emotions. So this will also be a barrier. Forming preconceptions about a person or object, ignoring the message due to arrogance or the feeling of I know it all, such as boys can't cry. So is it understood now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then next is defensive attitude and closed. So having defensive attitude, when someone criticizes you, then you try to protect yourself. You become defensive and closed mindset you have. So this is also barrier. This arises when a person says, I am fine as I am, and they do not want to change. They are not open for more feedback. I do not believe in it. I can't do it, causing the masses to be obstructed. So they are not open for the conversations. They are just restricting. They're not open for feedback. They're not open for improvement, and they are rejecting certain ideas without even consideration. Then after this is self-image. A person give importance to those messages which enhance their self-image, ignoring other negative message. So some people are like, if you give them positive, they have some like self-image about themselves that they are this type of person. Then if someone gives them compliment about that thing, or which aligns with their self image, then they will accept it. Okay, okay, then they will accept it, they will feel good. But if you say something opposite of that, then they will ignore all those negative messages. Filtering, next is filtering. Creating a frame in the mind beforehand. Example, just heard this now, so I will explain this. For example, in a company there is a manager, and manager is doing evaluation of performance of all the employees in the company. And then he receives all the positive feedbacks about an employee, but only one negative feedback he receives about and one negative comment he receives about that worker, about that employer from his co-worker. So then that manager only focuses on that one negative comment, and then he ignores uh, all the positive things about his performance. So he filters out all the positive feedback and becomes fixated on that one negative comment. So this is filtering. These are psychological barrier. If you have any doubt in this, you can ask.
No doubt, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Then stereotyping. Should I again stereotyping?
stereotyping.
Okay. Stereotyping is like there are some group of people. For example, girls are made to do domestic work at their home. They are girls are not made for going out. This is a belief. This is the way a person thinks about all the girls. Now, yes, it is true for some girls, but not all the girls, not the entire girl community, they are not made for this thing. So when you think like this, that uh, you are generalizing everybody based on their gender, either you are generalizing on any community, and you are when someone you are actually ignoring about this thing as sorry wait. Yes, you are just, you have your own preconception that girls are like this. They can only do this. But this is not the truth. Like boys can't cry, but boys can cry. As I gave the example, if you have your friend and if they cries, if your friend cry and you then he's sad, he wants to express his feelings that he's sad and he wants to cry, but then what you say that you don't you don't let him express himself fully because you believe that boys don't cry. So this will be a barrier in communication. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Okay. Next is low culture, low context and high context. So these are the two terms in communication: low context and high context. In low context, if I tell in simple words, in low context, communication relies on direct words and it's more like straightforward. It relies on direct words and language, and it's clear, direct, straightforward. Like people use just direct language through to express their thoughts and opinions, and in low context, believe in the meaning of what has been said as much as it has been said. So just the words. It will only mean that whatever has been said, just that's it. It doesn't have any some deeper or any subtle meaning. But in high context, believe in as much as has been said plus non-verbal plus feelings. So words plus non-verbal also. Verbal plus non-verbal plus feelings in high context. And uh, the high context culture believes in power of unsaid words. If someone stays silent in high context culture, this is also a message. If someone do not say anything, then this is also a form of a type of message. But in low context, it just directly relies on verbal message. And in high context it is non-verbal, and people understand also situational context, indirect You are whatever you are not speaking through words, through verbally, that will also be understandable in high context culture. Non-verbal like facial expression and body language and gestures, tone, all these things, they also communicate through this. And all the members of high context culture, they have common history, common background, and they understand the cultural contract context also, which allows them for high degree of mutual understanding. So they just do not solely rely on external like verbal communication. In high context culture is the culture that relies heavily on non-verbal and subtle situational cues to communicate. A lot of things are left unsaid, but it is already understood by the members that constitute the group. So things which are not even said verbally, which those things are also understood by the members. Example of high context culture is Asiatic societies such as India, Saudi Arabia, Japan are prominent examples of high context culture. And what can be the examples for low context culture? Countries like US, Australia, these can be example of low context culture. Low context culture relies heavily on words to convey meanings in a communication. Relies on words. A few words can communicate a complex message very effectively to an in group, in one's own culture, but less effectively outside that group in a lower context. So these are low context and high context culture. If you have any problem in this or not understood, you can ask again. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then next barrier is linguistic and cultural barrier. Linguistic related to language. The language being different or the use of complex words in the language. Two individuals having different cultures. These come in linguistic and cultural barrier. Language, either the language different or there is use of complex words which are not understandable by a receiver, or people if have they have different cultures, then these in are linguistic and cultural barrier. Now these it can be of three types. First one is semantic barrier, second cross cultural, and third high context low context. So first C, let's first see semantic barrier. Semantic barrier, this is of two types, denotative barrier and connotative barrier. So these two terms you have already known, you are aware, you have already discussed denotation and connotation. Who will tell?
Yes, ma'am. Denotation is the meaning of dictionary meaning. Means if we can take one word, so that word's dictionary meaning is called denotation. And connotation, that word's meaning is related to emotional feelings. So that is the connotation.
Very good, Lipalika ji. So yes, how denotative, so this is denotative barrier due to two different meanings of a word. There are two words, but the meaning of them is sorry, due to different meanings of a, there is one word and it has two different meanings. We how this is a barrier. Now let's take example, for example, lemonade. Now in some parts of India, lemonade means sweet and lemon flavored drink which is made up of water, sugar and lemon juice. However, in other regions like in South India, lemonade means salty and spicy lemon flavored drink, which doesn't contain sugar. Now the word is same lemonade, but it has two different meanings in different parts of India. So this is example of denotative barrier. And in connotative barrier, due to two words for one meaning. Now example, there are dog and puppy. These are now two different words. Now these both are animals, and um, both dog is, if we hear the word dog, then we might feel that we might feel either neutral or negative if we hear this word, negative emotions, or we refer from the word dog that someone who maturity and aggressive, but we hear the word puppy, then it can carry the connotation of innocence and cuteness, these positive emotions. Now if someone says that they have a dog, and the listener who is listening to the person, they picture a playful puppy, it means they are dog and puppy are two different words, but they are confusing the meaning of puppy with the dog. Sorry, they are confusing the meaning of dog with a puppy. So there is a connotative barrier because of different emotional associations. So means two different, uh, due to two words for one meaning. Words are different, but you are taking their meaning as one. In cross cultural, due to two different cultures. When two cultures are different, then this can also be a barrier. Different things mean different, one thing might mean different in another culture, and in another culture the meaning of that thing can be different. This can be barrier too. And high context, low context, some countries come under high context and some countries come under low context. So if a high context country, uh, if they are with the low context people, low context culture people, then there will be some difficulty in communication, and that can become a barrier. Like if in some cultures they do not directly speak, as we have discussed in the last slide, that in low culture uh, they are not more direct, but in high culture people are not more direct, and in low culture they are more direct, like expressing verbally everything. So they might consider bad, high context culture people, they might consider it bad. So these are the linguistic and cultural barrier. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then next, mechanical barrier. Mechanical barrier, the barrier arising due to instruments. Like in mechanical barrier, any technical obstacle is there that that acts as barrier in the process of communication. Any technical thing, any, if some instrument is not working, any equipment is not working properly, there is some technological issue or signal problem or glitch, then all these will come in mechanical barrier. The barrier arising due to instruments are called mechanical barriers. For example, writing getting damaged due to pen paper not being right, internet network being weak, telephone line not working, not being proper, etc. All these come in mechanical barrier. Mechanical barriers can exist in both interpersonal as well or in mass communication also. There can be difficulty in reception, or some elements of the message may not reach the destination, or both. It can be in the form of absence of communication facilities. Channel noise is a technical term used for such mechanical barriers. that include any disturbance in physical transmission of the message. So in mechanical barrier also noise can be there. In if the noise is in any technical part of the um, message channel, then it comes in mechanical barrier. Then after this, yes, these are the various communication barriers at workplace. First one is language. How language can be a barrier at workplace? Who will tell?
Ma'am, lack of knowledge about the uh, local language, you can say.
Hmm. Yes. And if people's accent is different, then some people won't be able to understand others' accent, then this can also come in language barrier. Or if someone is more proficient and others are less proficient in any language, then they might not be able to understand them. The same message can be interpreted by differently by different people. Then next is perceptual biases. It prevents us to look at reality in a truthful manner. So again, you are having preconceived notion of yours, and on the basis of that you are judging. It prevents us to look at reality in a truthful manner. The most common perceptual biases are stereotyping, projection, self-fulfilling prophecies. Now, stereotyping we have already seen, and projection is, for example, someone likes tea. For example, I like tea, and then I say that everybody likes tea. Then I'm projecting my opinion on others that everybody should like tea or everybody like tea. Then I'm projecting my opinion, my choice on everybody. And self-fulfilling prophecies, it's like you think that you will do badly in the exam, and then you become stressed, you become worried, and you don't study much due to that you due to that stress, due to that worry, and then you really do badly. Then your worry made it happen. Then this is self-fulfilling prophecies. Example of self-fulfilling prophecies. For example, you think you go on the road and then you think that today I will have accident. And then you start worrying, you don't pay attention on the road, on the traffic's coming, and then you actually had that accident. So this is self-fulfilling prophecies. Then next is impersonal relationship. Our perception is also based on past experiences with the communicator. The same communication from the highest authority may be perceived differently than that from a subordinate or a colleague. So the communication also depends on if, for example, in the school time, if our favorite teacher whom we like, they tell us something, they give a rule for us or anything, if they tell us, then we will take it differently. Or if some other teacher which we dislike, we don't like, then we will perceive that message differently. So it depends on the interpersonal impersonal relationship, and this is a barrier because that is possible that the teacher this message is same, but due to our perception we are not perceiving it correctly. Cultural differences. Effective communication requires deciphering the basic motives, values, assumptions, aspirations that operate across different cultures. So, in effective communication, different culture people should understand the basic motives and values, assumptions and aspiration of other culture people. So this is also a barrier, cultural difference. Then after, these are the barriers at workplace that are commonly found. Fine. Now noise.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
Excuse me,
please.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
please.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of deciphering the basic motives?
Deciphering means like decoding or understanding. In simple words, understanding. Okay.
Means effective communication here. This line, can you explain again?
Okay. Effective communication requires deciphering means understanding the basic motives, values. For example, there are two cultures, and one culture people, if they are communicating with the other culture, then they should understand their basic motives of that culture people, their values, their assumptions and aspirations for effective communication. If they don't do, then due to the cultural differences, barrier will be there. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Noise noise it interferes with the communication process and affects effective communication is called noise. Noise is what exists in the environment, causing the message recipient to not be able to correctly grasp the meaning. Due to the noise, the recipient is not able to correctly understand the message, understand the intention or the message of the receiver, sorry, of the sender. Examples include noise from the roadside, people continuously talking on loudspeakers, poor handwriting. This is also an example of noise. High or low pronunciation, lack of lightning, etc. For easy and effective communication, there should be no noise. So anything which makes which makes the recipient to not understand the message properly, that comes in noise. Now, types of noise: physical noise, psychological noise, semantic noise, and also mechanical noise is also there. We have seen in mechanical barrier. Physiological noise. What can be physiological noise? Related to our physiology, like it is distraction caused by hunger, fatigue, headache, cold head, cold heat, medication, etc. All these come in physiological noise. Due to hunger, if you are hungry, you will be distracted. If you have fatigue, your attention, your focus will be on that, and you won't be attentive in the interaction. All these. Then is physical noise. It is the most direct form of interference in our physical environment. So anything in our physical environment like traffic horns, poor lighting, or what can other examples of physical noise, if you have anything in your mind?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, or maybe some person disable to hear.
What if a person what?
Disable to hear something. Can you take in? No, no.
Yes, and if they are unable to hear because of what you said something.
Yes, yes. I am saying that, but this is not right, I think.
I didn't understand what you say, that they are not able to hear because of what I'm
Yes,
asking.
Means the person is disabled to hear by physically disabled to hear.
That is not related to physical, I guess. That should be related
Yes,
to
yes.
either physiological, yes. If it's disability, then this is not physical noise. If they are not able to hear due to something like a lot of traffic is there, or a lot of anything going on there, any DJ is playing or high at high volume, then this can be the reason in physical noise. This can come in physical noise.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then,
No. But what
yes,
I said that is comes under physiological noise, I think.
yes. Psychological, but physiological is also related to, it's not related to a birth born, but yes, this should be physiological noise. Okay. Psychological noise. It refers to the qualities in us that affect how we communicate and interpret others. For instance, if a manager is preoccupied with a very intense problem, then he or she may be inattentive in the meeting. So, due to the psychology, they are not able to focus, or they are not attentive in the meeting due to, because they have something in their mind going on. Similarly, prejudice and defensive feelings can also interfere with communication. Semantic noise. It occurs when words themselves are not mutually understood. So, in semantic barrier, like when either you use complex, very difficult language, or words are very difficult, complex, which are not understandable to receiver, and then it is semantic noise. And authors sometimes create semantic noise by using jargon or avoidable technical language. So these are all the noise. Yes. After this, barrier can be categorized as are as follows. So these are just barriers are categorized. Sender oriented barrier, receiver oriented barrier. So what do you think? What will be the sender oriented and receiver oriented barrier? What you understand? What do you understand from these words?
Means sender not properly send the message or not communicated properly what he or she intend to reach the target.
Okay. In simple words, you can say that the barriers which are from sender side, those are
Yes,
sender
yes,
oriented. Yes. And the barriers that
yes.
are to receiver, from receiver side, they are
Mm.
receiver oriented barriers. Yes. These are conditions or situations of a sender which hamper the communication. These can be environment surrounding the sender. It can be the environment of sender or sender's nature, their opinion, their patterns of communication, the way they communicate, and the understanding of words, symbols, and signs. These can be problems if the sender does not have proper knowledge of the situation, environment, and culture of the receiver. And receiver oriented barriers, these can be barriers in communication due to receivers as well. These include if the receiver is not attentive while listening, then this, and his physical and emotional state, attitude towards the sender, what if he thinks, if he has some bad preconceived attitude or such thing, he thinks about the sender, then he will perceive the message in that way. And the next category is channel oriented. So any problem in the channel, barrier can be created during transmission of the information. So while the information is being transmitted, in that if any barrier comes, then it will be channel oriented barrier. These can be due to availability and use of channels and use due to availability and uses of channels, wrong selection. If we select wrong channel, then this can also be a barrier. Inappropriate handling of the channel, distraction in the process, etc. These are in channel oriented barrier. Then now we have seen all the barriers. Now tell me that how will you overcome these barriers? How can you overcome these barriers? What can you do?
Where is the problem arising? We have to remove that problem. I think.
Yes, if there is any physical noise, then you will try to go in a place where there is no noise. Yes, okay. And anything more?
If psychological barrier is there, then we have to motivate and we have to explore more about means how it should be eradicated means if psychological barrier is there.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, let's see. Overcoming barriers of communication to make communication more effective. Supervisors or managers must try to attempt to remove the barriers. So first one is regulate the flow of information. You should We should regulate the flow of information. For example, if now we are studying how to overcome barriers of communication. If I directly start you teaching about telling about overcoming barriers of communication in the first class without telling anything about introduction or anything what we will study and what the subject name, I just directly start telling you, then it will be it's not a effective communication, and you won't be able to understand it, because first we study what is communication, what meaning of communication, types of communication, functions, types, and what are barriers of communication. Then after that we are doing how to overcome communication barriers. So for effective communication, regulate the flow of information. And second is feedback, acknowledgement of message. So you should know that whether your message is understand has reached the whether the receiver has understood the message or not. Next is human resources should use simple language. So simple language is easy to understandable to normal people, and we should not use language which is complex, and we should not use such words which are not understandable to common people. And fourth is level of knowledge. Just a second. Yes. Fourth is level of knowledge. So you should make your communication to match the understanding and expertise of your of the receiver also. Next is listen carefully. So we should do listening, active listening, and control emotions. If someone is criticizing you and you are having a defensive attitude towards it, then uh, or you have if someone criticizes you, you have two options. First is you can criticize them, or you can you can criticize them back, or you can uh, you can just reply them without understanding, without listening to them, the complete their complete thing. And second option is that you control your emotions, you hold your emotions, and you then listen to them first, then you try to understand everything what they're trying to say. Maybe they are trying, maybe they are saying something positive, something good, something truth, then you reply to them, then that will be effective communication. Watch for non-verbal cues or body language. So for effective communication, we should not only words speak louder than actions. Sorry, actions speak louder than words. So we should also pay attention to non-verbal cues and body language. Then let's do this. Then we will do tomorrow. Let's just start this classroom communication. Classroom communication will be effective only when there is a two-way flow of communication. For example, if there is a teacher who is only just explaining and telling and giving information and having no feedback from the students, then the communication will be one way, and that is not an effective communication. So the teacher should be good speaker as well as an active listener also. That means the teacher should encourage students to speak, encourage students to teacher should ask questions, or the communication should be two way. How to effectively manage classroom communication? First one is be clear. So when teacher, you're clear that what is the goal, where what you have to do, then if you are clear, then you will be better able to communicate, better able to teach or study. Second is keep it precise. So when you are clear about what you have to do, then you will keep it precise also. You won't get distracted on different things when your goal is clear. Take artful poses. If if you take artful, if you take pauses in between, then if students have their attention somewhere else, you can catch their attention by taking pauses. And taking pauses can also give students time to reflect or to understand also. Know your students. So you should know more and more, try to know more and more about your students, when what their background is, or how much they are understanding, what their mental capacity is, all these things. Be humorous. So when teacher is humorous, then students, first thing is they don't get stressed in the class, and when they are less stressed, then they are better able to focus. And uh, and uh, students learn things, remember things which are teach in such a humorous way. And empathy should be there. Teacher should able to understand, and students to teacher should be able to understand the students emotions and their message, their thoughts. Promote equity. So teacher should promote equity in the class, like they should give equal preference to all the students. It's not like that they are just doing any partiality or anything. Let students ask questions. Let students ask questions. And next is encourage students participation. So yes, teacher should encourage their participation. Communication will be two-way in this way. And understand, and when you encourage many students, many different perspectives in your discussion in the classroom to be involved, then it will help other students, overall the class, to learn better. Understand facial expressions of students. So not only through yes, when you are teaching, then you should, what you should do then, that try to understand whether they are able to understand or not what you are teaching from their facial expressions. Ask questions. When teacher asks question from the students, they are more focused, they are more aware of, and their mind opens up for whatever the teacher is going to teach or is teaching. Motivate students. Teacher should motivate students for learning. And respect. There should be respect. Mutual respect should be there. Teacher should also, students should respect, and there should be politeness. Use aids. So with the use of aids, teaching can be, classroom communication can be better. Reinforce learning. So in the classroom, when if anybody need any additional support, they are not able to, they are lacking somewhere, or they need additional support, or they need any feedback, then teachers should also give that. Active listening. So they students students and teacher also, teacher should listen actively to the students when they are asking questions or when they are answering, so that when you listen actively, only then you can communicate better. These are some of the points in effective classroom communication. Rest we will do tomorrow. If you have any problem, you can ask in today's class.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Start the prayer. Lipalka ji.